So as Tristan was outlining the mandate for the AER, the existing legislation that is coming over for the energy sector from ESRD, Environment and Sustainable Resource Development, is very much aligned with the mandate and the vision that are set out for the AER. It always has been about the protection of the environment while recognizing the need for economic growth and prosperity and the principle of sustainable development. So it's, in my mind, always come down to working out what are the appropriate conditions that will make it acceptable from an environmental perspective for that development to occur, so that we can have both the benefits of the development and, as Albertans, continue to enjoy a clean environment. And similarly with the Water Act, very similar objectives. It really does come down to setting those appropriate conditions. Of course, ESRD will continue to administer those pieces of legislation for all the other sectors besides energy. So working out which ones do go to the AER and which ones stay with ESRD, that's one of the challenges with this system. And that the Responsible Energy Development Act does provide the guidance on that. The basic rule that will apply in most cases is if a project required approval under one of the old ERCB pieces of legislation, then the accompanying Water Act and EPEA parts would also be dealt with under the AER. It gets a little trickier around aspects of those projects or things that are associated with those projects in respect of such a project. We have, within the AR and with ESRD, tried to work out ahead of time a lot of the calls, but it's going to be a situation where we probably won't be able to foresee every possible circumstance, and so we will have to deal with some of these situations case by case. We'll work together with AR or with ESRD on that. And at this point, I'll pass this clicker on to my colleague David.
Thank you, Pat. And thank you all for this opportunity for me to present this information to you. I want to talk a bit about the application process. These are questions that you have provided to us, and so we're trying to address some of the questions. And of course, there's a question and answer period afterwards to go into the questions that go further. The one thing I would like to say is the approval process itself has many of the same elements. It's effectively all the same elements as it was before. It has an application process, it's got a public notice part, it's got a technical review and decision. So none of those components in itself are changing. There are bits that need to change to align with the new legislation, but the elements are pretty much the same. One thing that has changed is that for applications, they are coming to the AER, and those are applications for the Water Act and for EPEA. They are coming to one location. Previously, there were 6 locations that in ESRD that an application could be submitted to, depending on where in the province it is. We've consolidated that down to one location. And it says effective March 29th, because that's when proclamation is. Applications that are received prior to that point, we can't do anything with them. You'll get a notice, a reply, if we do receive any applications to that email box, but we won't be able to do anything with them until on or after March 29th. Applications are electronic now, all applications, no more paper. And so since 2012, we've had, for EPEA applications, it's been electronic submissions. And so now with the advent of consolidation of environment and sustainable resource development and old ERCB into the new AER, we've made it so that the Water Act applications will also be electronically submitted. So that's a real plus as well. No application fees. For those of you who submit EPEA applications, there are application fees currently with ESRD. It could be upwards of $30,000 depending on what the activity and category is. And so on or after March 29th, there will be no application fees for those EPEA applications. I also want to say that in terms of those applications that are being created right now or are nearing submission, we are using the same format and same information requirements as ESRD. And so all those submissions are still acceptable. There shouldn't be any need to change anything in those submissions to reflect the new regulator. All the information requirements are the same. So I wanted to make sure everyone of that point. And we are coordinating with ESRD for integrated applications, and those would be the applications that have an EIA attached to them. So clearly the components dealing with, the sections dealing with the EPEA and the Water Act applications need to come to this mailbox that's identified above, and ESRD will be receiving the EIA. And we will be coordinating as before, we will be coordinating our efforts to make sure that the supplemental information requests and the processes are aligned. There are a number of in-process applications that the AER will be receiving, and those are the applications that have been submitted to the ESRD, Environment and Sustainable Resource Development, and have not yet have a decision yet. We've identified those, working with ESRD, we've identified which those applications are. There's approximately about 160 applications for EPEA, and roughly speaking, about 350 applications for the Water Act. And they are in various stages. Some of them are fairly quick to turn around. They're almost ready. Some of them are almost new applications. And they are for a variety of types of applications. Some of them are for codes of practice notifications. Other ones are for new facilities, or expansions. The AER will be accepting the new applications as of March 29th, and the processing time is to remain the same. So we're not changing the processing time, making it longer or making it shorter at this time. But having said that, I do want to say, as Tristan pointed out a little bit earlier, is that effectiveness and efficiency are top of mind for us at the AER. We are looking at opportunities for efficiency and effectiveness, and keeping in mind that assurance is one of our key roles at the AER. We'll be looking at ways to streamline the process but maintain the assurance or the effectiveness of the system. Risk-based components are going to be entering into more of a risk-based decision-making process. We'll be entering in, and anticipating that the efficiency will be increasing. Now, I want to say that the objectives of us right now is to transition the existing regulatory functions over into to the AER, the existing regulatory functions of EPEA and the Water Act. So immediately, we're not going to see a lot of these efficiencies and effectiveness, but over time, we're expecting to see them. Priority for the new for the applications that are coming over, we'll be giving to those time-sensitive applications. So the ones where there's an imminent decision that's necessary, where there might be an impact, significant impact to the applicant, or we have to make sure that the environment is addressed. Industry reports. Now, all of you who have an EPEA or a Water Act approval probably recognize that there's industry reports that are conditioned in the approvals. They have to be submitted as part of the approval. Those reports are very important to AER, and they're also important to the government to determine new policy requirements, and also to make sure that the pollution abatement equipment and operating conditions are functioning as they need to be functioning. And some of the risk elements, the risk mitigation elements, are contingent upon ensuring that they're working effectively, and that monitoring helps assess that. And those of you who have EPEA approvals probably recognize that March 31st is a key date for a lot of the submission timelines for those EPEA approvals for the reports in them. February 15th is a key date, and March 31st is another key date, which is coming up fairly soon. So effective March 29th, reports that are conditioned in the approvals are submitted electronically to these mailboxes, one for EPEA and one for the Water Act. Now again, before that time, that they're just going to sit and wait until after the proclamation. I do also want to assure you that if for whatever reason that the report or application, if you're submitting an application to the mailbox, goes to the ESRD in error, that's not going to be a problem. We've worked it out with ESRD that they'll just be transferring those information over to the AER as though that the AER received them. So it's not that it's going to be a non-compliance issue if that report is submitted on time to ESRD, say March 30th, and AER received it through a different venue. The naming conventions of those reports are to remain the same, so the system that we receive is the same system as the ESRD is receiving it. And the water use reporting system and the continuous emission monitoring data that's currently submitted to ESRD will continue to be submitted through a system that the existing system. So we're not changing the system for that online water use return or the continuous emission monitoring information. And I also want to say that any requests for authorizations and plans and anything that requires a response from the AER is to be submitted to this mailbox that's shown up here. Now those are items that are conditioned in the approval, so items like plan authorizations or proposal authorizations and whatnot go to this mailbox. For general questions, who is your approval coordinator? And right now, I'm reluctant to say. And the reason why I say that is because we haven't, not all of them have started yet with AER. A lot of them are going to be starting next week and the next week after that. And I don't want to release any of the names until they're ours. So soon after proclamation, they will be in touch with you. So for the ones, for the in-flight applications, the in-progress applications, they will be in touch with you and we'll continue the review. A lot of the approval coordinators are exactly the same people as they were with ESRD. We've got many of the same experienced individuals, and we also attracted some new individuals as well. So very soon we will be in contact with you in regards to those in-flight applications. System cutover. So we need to upgrade our systems. So I mentioned about waters and WERS, water use return system and the continuous emission monitoring system. Those systems will be upgraded so that it is able to accept information from an AER regulated facility as well as an ESRD regulated facility. Most of the system upgrades are actually internal, our tracking systems for our applications and whatnot. But the one that I think is needed to be highlighted is it's called WATERS. It's the system where we receive temporary diversion licenses. And so the upgrades that are necessary to facilitate this dual regulatory use of this great system that we've got is going to be down for the period of March 26th to the 28th. So in other words, the online application to receive a temporary diversion license will not be accepting applications for that period of time. However, during that period of time, we will be able to still receive applications through the mailbox. So applications for temporary diversion licenses, we will take them manually through the mailbox, and we'll affect the temporary diversion licenses through that mechanism. So even though it's a little bit more of a manual process than the automated system that we've got, it will we'll still continue with that. So finally, we do have a coordinated emergency response number, and it's the one shown here. It's the same number that's used in the past with ESRD and the ERCB, and it's a 24-hour phone number. We have a general number for general inquiries, and we've been interacting with the people at our customer care center, and that they're more informed of the Alberta environment or the ESRD components that are coming over on EPEA and the Water Act. And I have here, and I didn't write this, but if you need to call someone, it says, please call Pat Marriott at 780-427-9922. And I might add that Pat actually wrote that. So this ends the presentation for the EPEA and the Water Act component and the authorizations. Our next presentation, Kevin, will be on the Mine Financial Security Program. Thank you.